614 Productions presents the Not So Neutral Zone podcast for armchair enthusiasts by armchair enthusiasts. The opinions expressed on this show are approved by the National Basketball League, Major League Blernsball, and the Toon Squad.
Also, the American Association of Dodgeball.
It's probably a real thing.
No, I'm talking about the one from Dodgeball.
From Dodgeball? Okay. Well, you're probably wondering why we've already name-dropped some fictional sports leagues. You're going to jump in here?
Had to take a second. Just to talk about some of our favorite fictional athletes, like Ricky Bobby, Patches O'Houlihan, Coop Airman Cooper, and Doug Sir Swish Reamer from basketball. Sorry, no Airbud on here.
But Airbud? The first one was okay. The rest of them sucked.
Yeah. Beating a dead horse there.
There's nothing in the rulebook that says a dog can't play basketball. Well, then apparently the school forgets to write dogs from other sports.
And obviously we're forgetting a couple of guys. Ricky Bobby, Jean Girard, Cal Naughton Jr., Cole Trickle, and Rowdy Burns. Yeah. A little too loud. Having trouble thinking here.
I know, what really qualifies as an athlete in a movie? Like, some people will say that Ricky Bobby's not an athlete. He's just a racer.
I don't know. I don't know on that one. Any movie about a sport would be a fictional athlete. Because remember, in basketball, the league was founded on the fact that you could shoot the basketball without running around after the ball. Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. Then, I mean, you've got, like, Longest Yard. Both Longest Yards. Got quite the selection of baseball movies.
Major League.
Major League.
Since we're on that subject, the greatest comedy that involves a sport at all has to be Who's on First. Everybody knows Who's on First. It's actually my ringtone on my phone. So when people call me...
What's on second? I don't know who's on third.
The way it starts out on my phone, when it rings, you hear Abbott go, okay, so we've got Who's on First, what's on second, I don't know who's on third. Well, that's what I want to know. Who's on what? And it goes through all the way through it. What are you asking me for? And I'll listen to it until it stops. Then I'll answer the phone. So everybody wonders, why didn't you answer on the first ring? Who's on first? I actually have custom ringtones for everybody too. And speaking of Ricky Bobby, my youngest brother, if he calls me, you hear, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I got so many different ones, but I like Who's on First. Just it plays right through.
It's definitely a great gag, and that was really funny. There's just so many different.
And see, the bit was done before the DH rule.
Mm-hmm.
So if you listen to it, I think it's right field or left field. It's right field. Doesn't have a position. So you're thinking how funny the bit is. If it's hard to get that natural comedy chemistry like that for a bit like that again, because
yeah. See, there's really comedy seems to have gotten away from, like, you know, when you go see a comedian, normally it's like one guy on stage telling jokes. It doesn't seem like there's really any, like, groups or pairs of people doing it.
See, unlike comedy in the last 10 years, basically with our last two presidents, you know, without going too political, it seems comedians have went more political with their jokes instead of poking the president occasionally. Now it's all full assault. Not the same as what we've been doing with making jokes about Roger Goodell or Adam Silver, whoever the baseball commissioner is,
Yeah. It just seems everything comedy has to be political now, and I guess it's an easy way to get a following because one side or the other is going to like what you do. Anyway, we'll get back around to fictional athletes. You want to start with one? Who's really your favorite?
It's a tough list, but probably one of my favorites has to be Pedro Serrano from Major League, the voodoo ritualist turned Buddhist in the Major League movies. Was always one of my favorite ones.
We had Back to the Minors on VHS, so I always loved his bits in that.
The second one, Major League 2, one of the funniest lines in there is when Tanaka is trying to teach Serrano to focus, and he blindfolds him, and he's trying to ask him, "Is your mind clear?" But in his thick Asian accent, he says, "Is your mind queer?" Made it hilarious. But one of the interesting things about those movies, just about all the actors had somebody else standing in for them for their scenes. Charlie Sheen was actually throwing the ball when he was pitching. He was actually slinging that hard.
I always liked his bit in Back to the Minors where he's like, "Hat for bat, keep bat warm." It steals the golf club cover.
Or when Wesley Snipes as Willie Mays Hayes, running in his PJs outruns everybody. I mean, that's one of those movies I'm surprised they haven't did a reboot of, because it would be entertaining to see another one like that today. Even if it was a fourth one, it used to be good. I didn't really care for a lot of the characters in Back to the Minors. I only watched it because Serrano was in it and Tanaka.
Yeah, that's like the first one I saw. So that was the bar, and then the rest of them, kind of nostalgic because that's one of the VHSs we had.
Another good one is trying to think. There's not really too many fictional basketball movies aside from say like Space Jam or Semi-Pro. So you're really limited on the good basketball themes. Arguably, probably one of the movie forcing reality was when Disney paid the entry fee and gained what's one of the decent teams in the NHL now. Now they're called the Anaheim Ducks. When they were founded, they were the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, modeled after the ones from the movie. And it's kind of funny because when they first started, they had the colors of the Mighty Ducks from the first two movies. Now their colors resemble the school from the third one that the Ducks were going to, Eden Hall or something like that. So now it looks like those colors. And that was one of those movies where I could almost name the entire roster.
Life imitates art. Or does art imitate life?
Speaking of last week, though, when we were talking about fictional, or when we were talking about expanding in the NFL, could you imagine if somebody were to do like that, they did with the Ducks, and they say, "You get a franchise. What do you want to name them?" Well, I was always a fan of this team, so why not call my team the Anaheim Ducks? Let's name them the Ducks because we're Disney. Or you get a team, and you just so happen, I can't even think, I'm trying to think of somewhere that doesn't have a team. And even in the instance, you had the Orlando Breakers on the TV show Coach. But I had a backup in case we didn't have enough to talk about with this week. I did some research on some potential expansions in hockey, baseball, and basketball because, did they finally get the baseball realigned right, or is it still?
Yeah, it's It's 30 teams, 3 divisions in each league, 5 teams in each one. It's not funky anymore. They actually line up properly. So that's pretty neat. I think it was the Astros. Pretty sure it was the Astros that switched leagues.
They moved the Astros instead of moving the Brewers back to the AL where they started.
Well, because the Astros were just kind of bad for a while. So they were like, we won't miss you. Then they got better. You're mentioning that basketball is kind of thin on films. Got me thinking about some of the other sports. Your sports films tend to be pretty heavy on baseball. Football's represented. Baseball
and football get most of the attention. I mean, you don't even see that many racing movies other than I've got, I think, 4 Heart Like a Wheel about Shirley Muldowney, Snake and Mongoose about Don Perdome and Tom McEwen, 3 about Dale Earnhardt that ESPN did, and then Days of Thunder. Then you got Talladega Nights, which NASCAR said is one of the most accurate movies anybody's done about NASCAR, because when Ricky Bobby's a crew member of the team, it's Winston Cup. Then they transition to Nextel Cup on his uniform. They actually change the patches. They don't leave the same ones the whole time. So it's a little more accurate, even though it was a little more fictional.
I had to do some research, but they actually filmed several parts pre-race at some races, so as to be on site with plenty of extras for their. I think it's like the final, where they're running for the finish line. I think parts of that is filmed.
They did film that at Talladega. Most of it was filmed at Charlotte, with the exception of Ricky Bobby's attempted comeback after the fictional fire, when he basically gets fired from the team, was actually filmed at Rockingham Speedway.
I think they used Rockingham a lot to paint the walls as different tracks instead of, obviously traveling with camera crews is difficult enough. So
now, one of the all-time worst ideas for a racing movie was Herbie Fully Loaded. It pretty much...
I've only ever seen parts of that one, and I don't care to watch it again.
To me, it crapped on the whole legacy of the Herbie movies, which were classic because they were comedy. They weren't forced like this one seemed to be. I mean, it was so bad that there was race teams that said, no, we don't want to be any part of it. And for people to actually back off from that movie, just to me wasn't that good. Not to mention, at the time, it was like the whole trying to shy away from foods like Cheetos, which was on the car. You're never going to see a stock car out on the street just cruising around. To take it even further, if you even wanted to lump it in as a sports movie, you don't even see it. Even though it's scripted, and yes, the performers do have to be in shape to an extent, but even pro wrestling, you don't see too many movies about that.
Well, I think pro wrestling is pretty much dominated by the WWE. So, in order to do anything on them, it's probably going to come from them. They're not going to have an outside source film that. So, I don't know. There's been a few. What is that? Nacho Libre.
And Ready to Rumble. Ready to Rumble is still a good one. Even though it was a bad idea to try to bring the movie story into the real company, that was crappy. Now, I did have an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
I got the idea when I was reading something about Captain America Civil War. Okay, they drop teams. I know we're more like a sports-themed show, but it would be so funny to have, take a list of superheroes, get 1 or 2 more people with us, and do like a draft, kind of like a pick your own team kind of thing, superheroes.
What would be the sport though? It would change based on the sport.
Yeah.
You know, if this is football, I'm drafting the Hulk for my defensive tackle position.
You know what?
Hulk is going to smash this out of that line.
After seeing the most recent movie,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be hard pressed to go against maybe, I don't know, Drax or Thanos will be on top of my list. You know who you wouldn't go wrong for having as a wide receiver?
Who?
Iron Groot. No stick 'em on him. He's just reaching out with stick pulling in.
Can we select dead characters? Because I want Quicksilver, out of the backfield. I think I think he'd be a little too fast to bring down. And at what extent can they use their powers? There are rules here to be thought about. There need to be rules.
Thor cannot be a linebacker and use lightning to stop somebody in their track. Iron Man, yeah, he's going to have to be coach. He can't play. No enhanced suits.
We're going to play some baseball. Want to come?
That's funny because on one of the old games, Triple Play 99 for Nintendo 64 had a cheat team on there, and there was this one dude on there. He was so tall you could only see him from about stomach down, and you bunt the ball. Home run every time with it. Then there was this other guy who was probably a little bit taller than Micro Ant-Man. You could hit the ball with him or even bunt. By the time the pitcher or catcher gets to the ball, he's already on second base. So if you hit one to the wall and it doesn't go over, infield home run. So yeah, there was actually one guy with that guy too. If you actually got him on base, he could steal second base before the pitcher had even fully released the ball. So you got to give him to an extent like Ant-Man. He can't just shrink down, hop on his ant, fly halfway down the field, and pop up big again. He can't be Giganto Man either.
Yeah, he didn't seem to move real well though as Giant Man. And also, how would he carry like a football or something if he shrunk? Would he shrink the football?
He would shrink.
That should not be allowed. Shrinks gets immediately crushed by the ball.
And Captain America can't be on the same team as Bucky.
Cap's a quarterback. Have you seen him sling that shield? The announcers be like, he has one of the oddest deliveries I've ever seen. This sidearm throw.
Actually, I know somebody better than him.
Who?
I'm taking Hawkeye as my quarterback. The dude's got accuracy and doesn't even have to look. He could go, all right, there's my guy 10 feet down.
Imagine looking the safety off as him. Complete.
Trick
You
play.
didn't even look at him.
Gotcha. Starting safety. Black Panther. T'Challa would hawk somebody down the field and just drop them. Running back. Rocket Raccoon. or as Thor constantly referred to him, Rabbit. But yeah, Drax would have to be a linebacker. Him and Thor. What about Loki?
Corner.
General manager of the team? The Collector. Announcer for the game? Stan Lee.
Of course.
On the field announcer? Stan Lee. He can be everywhere.
He'd be everywhere at once. Alright, we've gotten a little bit sidetracked.
Actually, we were talking about fictional sports teams, though. The Avengers versus the Justice League or DC versus Marvel would be an interesting team.
That would be interesting. That would be something neat to do. Get a couple more people together.
We'll get some of our non-sports affiliated people, like maybe my. See, I'm still trying to get another show going, but it's kind of difficult to get the two people as co-hosts over for the show because all of our schedules don't sync up. But I've got the perfect co-host for the show, and got a name, got everything set up for it. All I got to do is get it started. Definitely more material there than what we get. We kind of just improvise ours, and it's
kind of a dead time of year.
Like we said last week, we do better with the impromptu shows versus scripting because we wind up trying to rush all our scripted stuff into like 45 minutes, and then what do we do for the rest of the time? And then we wind up rambling, and then we're like, that's better than that. But if you want, I can. I'll do a rundown of these.
Well, let's put that off just a few minutes. I was trying to think of some other representations, like some other movies for like. Have you seen anything for like soccer? Because I can't even recall anything.
Bend It Like Beckham.
And it like
That's the only soccer movie I can think of.
And then we already had mentioned something with hockey. It does get thin with some sports. Lacrosse. I don't know anything with lacrosse.
American Pie.
American Pie.
That's the only time I remember lacrosse being featured in anything.
What about golf? Are golfers athletes?
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Or if you want to be loosely, we could say Caddyshack. That's more of a side thing.
No.
All right, give us your rundown.
Hang on, computer's being kind of dumb. Not the one we're recording on, but my other one. Let's
I think
see.
we got enough of them in here. We had to.
Well, it's only on this computer,
It's only
so
on
I'm
that
stuck. Now it's saying not responding. I actually had to re-up my my Office 365 subscription last night, so my computer's not want to cooperate too well.
Yeah, I wonder when they'll cut mine off from the school.
Actually, I recut mine on. Okay, it was there and then it's gone. All right. Right when I say I'm ready, I'm not.
It happens to everyone, David.
So you're while we're waiting on it, what would you say is your favorite legitimate sports movie about a real sports team
About a real sports team?
or athlete?
Ooh, that was tough. His favorite sports stuff's like we had the ESPN 30 for 30s. I like them. But my favorite one in that's Broke, which isn't really about a specific athlete.
We forgot a baseball movie, and I just thought of it.
Which one?
Bull Durham, about Kevin Costner, Tim Robbins movie.
Mm-hmm.
Field of Dreams.
If you build it.
8 Men Out. 8 Men Out about the Black Sox scandal. That one's an awesome baseball movie.
I've never actually seen that one.
John Cusack plays, and I think he's Shoeless Joe Jackson. Want to say Michael Rooker's in it also. It's a good one. It kind of tells you about the formation of why baseball has a commissioner. They actually went out and got a actual retired judge to be the first baseball commissioner, and he wasn't too friendly to that. All right, okay, I've got it up now. First one's on hockey. They of course have Denver, Chicago, Columbus, St. Louis, Boston, Montreal, Vancouver, DC, Phoenix, Calgary, Philadelphia, Las Vegas just got theirs. Winnipeg, Raleigh. Winnipeg just got theirs back after Atlanta moved up there. Tampa, Toronto, Edmonton, Miami, Pittsburgh. That's right. Miami has the Florida Panthers. I keep forgetting that's where they play. Nashville, New York City, and New Jersey have 3 teams. The Rangers, the Devils, and the Islanders. Detroit, Buffalo. There's one in the Bay Area. San Francisco and Oakland don't have one, but they consider San Jose their team. Then you got Dallas has the Stars, Minnesota Wild. Now, the interesting thing here is I made a list of the other teams that could potentially join. Seattle applied for a franchise, and it's supposed to be soon that they get their decision.
Which NHL is currently sitting in an odd number of teams right now, right? So that would make sense.
Cleveland actually had a team last in 1978, but they say it'd be hard for them to get one because of their proximity to Columbus.
That's true.
Portland is on a list to get a team, but they have to wait and see how the Seattle deal goes.
Yeah, they'll probably get shafted if Seattle gets theirs.
But Vancouver would have a say in that also to decide.
That's true.
But they already have an
distance
arena.
From Vancouver to Portland is a lot greater than from Vancouver to Seattle.
Other cities that's considered? San Antonio.
That city keeps coming up.
Now these next 2 are going to surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego and Kansas City.
This doesn't surprise me too much. They're sizable cities.
Now, Kansas City last had a team in 1974. Also on the list that I put on there, I think can get one. Cincinnati last had a team in 1979. Then the last one, Atlanta, get in the threat. Now, interesting enough, the Calgary Flames started out in Atlanta, then moved to Calgary. The Thrashers are there, they moved to Winnipeg. Now, our next one that was interesting, and we're going to kind of just hit on them instead of just nailing them down, but in the event that the 30-team NBA decided they wanted to add teams, on my list, I got potential teams are. I'm going to be beating a dead horse here with all three of them. This is for NBA, of course. Kansas City last had the Sacramento Kings before they moved to California in '85. San Diego had the Rockets last in '71. Vancouver, the former Grizzly team. This is another one that was affected because if Seattle gets one, can Vancouver hold one?
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis, Spirits of St. Louis, ABA team. The Sonics, they've been pretty much all but confirmed. They would be the 31st franchise if another one got one.
An interesting fact about that is Seattle does still hold the rights for the Supersonics.
Now here's
so that would be, if they come back, that would almost definitely be the name.
Then I got a couple of interesting ones that a couple you're going to be surprised on. Louisville is on a list. They have 2 arenas that they can play in that city. So they're on a list. Buffalo had a team. They never played. Cincinnati had the Royals in '57. Pittsburgh, the Ironman. Now, this one is number 3 on a list in the NBA to get a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about them in football. Mexico. They said Mexico does have interest for it, but it's finding the right owner for the team to get.
I think football's become too big to do stuff like that, but I think NBA's right at the right size. And, you know, some of the financial difficulties could be eased if it was an NBA team trying to do it instead of an NFL team. Because you don't have to build a $2 billion stadium in Mexico. Now you're looking at a significantly cheaper arena. I'm glad you said that because it makes me think that that's a lot more likely. And it seems like they've got a following down there.
Well, the success of the Vegas Knights opens up the possibility of Vegas. Mexico City could probably get Roger Goodell to forget about London for a little bit. Now, I got a shorter list when it comes to baseball.
Yeah, baseball has some specific requirements.
The Indianapolis Hoosiers played in 1914, but
yeah, that's way back.
The first city in North America that should get a baseball team before anybody should be Montreal, since they lost the Expos.
Yes, it is.
But Charlotte's been discussed because at one time, baseball was going to try to get the idiot that owned the Marlins before Jeter's group. They tried to get them to move the team to. They were going to offer them a deal if they didn't get a stadium in Miami to move to Charlotte.
And in case I don't know if you remember it or not, but that's what took the Knights, Charlotte's AAA White Sox affiliate. It what took them forever to get a stadium downtown because there was this one guy that kept suing to block it, trying to get a major league team instead of a minor league team playing. Have you been by the stadium down there? Have you seen it? It is nice, but it's definitely not large enough for a major league team.
Oddly enough, with as close as we live to Charlotte, I have only been to 2. Wait, I take that back. Yes, I've been to 2 of the 5 buildings in Charlotte that house a sports team. I've never been in Panther Stadium. I've never been in BB&T Field or Park, whatever it's called.
That's what it's called.
I've been in Spectrum Center twice, both times when it was Time Warner Cable. I've been in the old arena where the Hornets played before the Bobcats got theirs. I've been in the Bojangles Coliseum. But actually, honestly, I've never been to Charlotte for a sports event. And I've only actually been to one sporting event in the state of North Carolina as far as like outside of motorsports. And that was when I went to Wake Forest to their field to watch Salisbury High School play for their state championship game.
Well, I'm getting ready to go to another Panther game this fall. Cincinnati Bengals are coming to town, so I'm going to go to that one.
The Cat Bowl. Huh?
Cat Bowl, yes. But the BB&T ball field is like 2 blocks away from Panther Stadium. It's nice. Might go to a game at some point there if it ever works in my schedule.
Would it not be insane to be able to do like a recording, come back, throw it on here of us just at the game? I don't know if we can do that though, because we have that strict language policy, you know.
Yeah. Probably no video recording. Definitely.
I'm sorry, Jacob. I lied.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to a couple sporting events in this state. All of them, of course, at the Intimidators. Actually, crazy enough, the first sporting event I went to was the Piedmont Phillies played the Asheville Tourist, and that was, I think I was in middle school. So it's been over 20 years. First time I went to a Intimidators game last year, year before that. Of course, it had to be one of the coolest nights. It was Star Wars night. Now, I've told you the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I get the tickets from your girlfriend.
Yes.
Which, on Star Wars night, and it's funny, at the time they said we're getting ready to do Star Wars trivia. My son decides he has to go to the bathroom, so I walk the kids to the bathroom as they're coming back. We're standing kind of off to the right of the press box, I guess is what you want to call it. And they said, get your phones out and start tweeting. All right. They start asking the questions. I'm flying through all the answers. Before the guy could even finish the answer for the question for the last one, which the answer was R2D2 and C3PO, I answered it, hit tweet, get back to my seat. My phone goes off. I won. So I go up there, get this Darth Vader pancake waffle maker or whatever, the little Boba Fett koozie, which I think is over here behind me somewhere, and the trilogy of the Star Wars. My wife, it's funny because I get back, I'm sitting there and I said, I'll be right back. She goes, where are you going? I said, I won. You did? Yeah. I was probably the first one to tweet. And that was actually a good streak there because that was 3 years in a row I won something from somebody. One was I won a Twitter contest for one of the drag racers. He had a thing where you just like him, his team, and you just retweet. Well, I got a notification, and the guy's out of Texas. I took the hat, got it signed about 2 years ago. But we went, me, wife, one of the kids, went, and as we're walking through the crew, somebody goes, hey, check it out. What's that Harlow Salmon shirt doing all the way up here? I walk over, start talking to him. Every time I go to the races, and I pass by, still got your shirts? Yeah, they're at home. I joked with him last time I was there, but they hadn't had them made up yet because he switched from a black car to a silver car. And I joked and I said, my shirt's outdated. I need a new silver shirt. He said, where's your other one? I said, at home. I ripped it. Right here on the inside, this little seam right here got caught on a nail and ripped it. But, yeah, when it comes to sports movies, when I was asking you what was your favorite sports movie, mine has got to be Snake and Mongoose. Because at the time when those two guys come along, sponsorship in motorsports was not really a big thing. Everybody just came out, ran a car, had their horsepower and everything on the car. They struck a deal with Hot Wheels, and it pretty much propelled sports to how you see racing now, with everybody having sponsors blazed all over the cars.
Depending on your opinion of that, but it does. It pays for their living, so can't be too upset. Where did we even get to?
This has just been us having a good time this week. we're going to be off for 2 weeks. We'll be back in 2 weeks with, of all things, episode number 10.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to prepare.
And
I got vacation.
maybe we can get our significant others to help persuade other people to go to our Facebook page, like it, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and kind of get some more people, because I'm hoping we eventually, get to like a big number, like 40, 50 episodes. And we'll go ahead and put this on here so to make sure people listen. Once they have listened or subscribed, and we can check who subscribes to our channel. Once we get 50, or would you rather do 100? I think 50 is a good possibility.
50 is a good target.
Once we get 50 subscribers, if they send us an email to our email address, we'll randomly pick one person, and they can be special guest hosts for the week. Let them choose the topic of conversation also, because I think it'd be good to catch us off center. And in case they don't remember, the email is one individual word. It's notsoneutralzone@yahoo.com. I've actually thought about giving us a Twitter handle once we get to 50. Both of us be able to tweet stuff. I don't know how good you are at Twitter.
Not on the Twitter.
Actually, Twitter is more reliable when it comes to getting news alerts than, say,
That's true.
ESPN, because a lot of times athletes, like, I saw a thing come in on Twitter, and right as it did, Bleacher Report, ESPN, and Fox Sports all sent alerts saying that Richard Sherman signed his deal with the 49ers.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're, like, a big football follower, I mean, you got, like, Adam Scheffner, and you're following him on Twitter, because he's usually got a big break. And then you usually follow, like, some team-specific guys, and then...
I've had mine probably maybe 6-7 years, and my Twitter account is now, I follow a lot of people, so when I send something out, it goes all the way. 1582 is how many I follow. I have 175 followers. At one time, I was up to 200, but a lot of them were like those spam accounts, so I kind of block report. And see, I made it simple for my Twitter handle. I did have a different handle, and I changed it to just my name. And I'm constantly having to clear Twitter notifications. Like right now, I got 5 of them from Last Man Standing, a cigar company, a pro wrestler, a drag racer, and another drag racer. So that's, and that was the hardest thing too for me, is I was trying to hold out until we had a group night to go watch Infinity War. And so I was staying off all my social media. And I went to this one page on Facebook that I got, and it said, okay, 2 weeks are up. We're going to start sending out spoilers. I was like, I got to go watch it so I can start reading some of this stuff.
I managed to avoid major spoilers, and I waited a week.
Yeah.
Week and a half, maybe.
If there's one thing I am very strict about when it comes to avoid movie spoilers, it's Star Wars. And again, with this whole fictional universe or fantasy thing we were talking about with the teams, like taking different people, you could probably go through any fandom, whether it be Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, DC, and you could pretty much put a good team together of athletes, because there's so many different ones to choose from. And
I managed, let's see, talking about Star Wars. Last Jedi, I didn't get any spoilers, but now someone on my Facebook page for Force Awakens spoiled, spoiler alert for Force Awakens if you haven't seen it by now.
If you haven't seen The Force Awakens yet, and you are a Star Wars fan, check yourself into a mental institution with Roger Goodell as your roommate.
Okay, just pause this and watch it now and then come back. Anyway, I had it spoiled that it was Kylo Ren was Ben Solo and he killed his father. And I didn't believe it at first. Until I'm sitting in the theater watching it and they start talking about him. They talk about our son. I was like, well, that's it. It's true. He's going to die. Then when they're on that bridge at that moment, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe he does get out of it. Nope, dead. I don't think I had anything else major. No. Well, I already knew it because it was book series. But like the Harry Potter films, where whichever one it was, where Snape kills Dumbledore.
Fictional sports, right there. We forgot that.
Quidditch.
The Professional Quidditch Association.
Okay, I've got to do the rant then. I've got to do my rant. Quidditch is a dumb sport. Why does it matter what how many of our other players there are? Whatever it matters what they do if you catch the snitch and you basically win the game. What does it matter?
Exactly.
What do
the
they
other
do
team,
there?
The other team can score because each goal's 10 points. So they can score 14 goals and be kicking the crap out of you. And your seeker catches a snitch. You win by 10 points. What does that mean? What's going on here?
It's just the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
So now we're talking about whose line is it anyway?
I love whose line is it.
The show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. That's right. The points are like Narcan at Charlie Sheen's house.
Completely useless. Kind of like on here. We should start awarding points on here.
Okay, if that's the case, I'm taking 1,000,000 points away from Roger Goodell for the bad joke at the NFL draft.
You better keep a spreadsheet of this.
And instead, I'm going to give those 1,000,000 points to charity.
Which charity? It's got to be a good one.
I'm going to give it to the retirement fund for retired national basketball players. Most importantly, I'm going to give them to Squeak Scolari, the poor unfortunate third man on the Milwaukee Bears. Now, I do have an interesting thing to propose to you. We have the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Football Hall of Fame, the Naismith Hall of Fame, NASCAR Hall of Fame. What if
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
What if we have the Not So Neutral Zones Hall of Fame induction? Because I actually have a list of people who have been inducted, and you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Do gatekeepers at AAA baseball games count?
Single A and no.
I like AAA.
You like AAA?
Yeah, because it just sounds fun. Wait, who is their affiliate in AAA?
The Knights.
Now, here's something funny. When my oldest played T-ball one year, her team was called the Sand Gnats. I tried to figure out where's this team from. It's actually the Savannah Sand Gnats, who play in the same league as Kannapolis.
I don't remember all their names, so that's neat. Okay, so if we're gonna do Hall of Fame, the introductory class would have to be like 5 members.
Well, no. See, that's my issue with a lot of the leagues. Because, like the way baseball does it, that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get so much of a percentage. To me, like baseball, I think the other year they inducted 1 person. No, it should be like a good round number. Like, okay, basketball has 5 people, football has 11. Basketball, I'm not sure how many they do. But I actually seriously thought about just Like, we devote an episode. Like, episode number 10 would be a big one. Introductory class right there. Because for me, hands down, like, if you're going to pick somebody, I can't think of his name, but obviously you're going to want to induct somebody like Naismith, founder, I think he's the founder of basketball. Do you leave it strictly for professional as far as like coaches, or do you bring in college? Because if you say college, you got guys like Dean Smith, Mike Krzyzewski, which I'm not sure how to spell that.
That's why they call him Coach K.
Bobby Knight. Those are 3 guys that influence college. You can obviously put Dick Vitale on that list because it's already there, baby. You got to have him because without March Madness, that's like John Madden's another one. Hey, boom!
Tough action tonight. No.
And if you were to say personalities like analyst, the first analyst I can think of is can't think of his name, Mr. Whoop.
I think
because
we could split it up into some different categories. I think if you're going to go that far, why not do like what we had this whole episode on, fictional athletes. So you could have fictional athletes. You could have separated by sports. Analyst.
That's why I say we do like a different episode. Devote one episode to baseball, one episode to football, and and I got the idea from, oddly enough, pro wrestling. The way WWE does theirs is they usually induct a feature. They have a tag team, a woman wrestler, basically, a celebrity, and a non-wrestler personality, basically like a announcer, commentator. Did I say manager?
No.
Manager, somebody like that, somebody that's had a behind the scenes. So you could kind of say, like, an example would be your first class, Red Auerbach from basketball, Dr. J, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Babe Ruth, Bob Uecker. From Major League, of course. You do like the fictional, or I can't think of his name, from Angels in the Outfield. We'll just kind of come up with the criteria, and being there's only 2 of us, we're the only votes, and just kind of.
What percentage do you have to of the vote do you have to get in? 100%.
Honestly, since we're both probably going to have a different list, and you're going to be surprised by this, but the only terms to get inducted are you have to be retired. None of this 5-year waiting list. Like, you're going to be surprised by this one, but yes, Peyton Manning would be on my list because arguably he did change the game. He may not have had the prettiest Super Bowl wins, but yes, his teams did help him put rings on his finger. Now, would I let him go in as one of the first class? No. Because the guy whose records he broke, like Dan Marino will go first. Johnny Unitas. Jim Otto. Definitely like
You're going back there.
But, yeah, see, we would probably be doing more modern era guys, but here's an idea. Each one we do what's called a legacy selection, which would be a player from like the old school, like somebody from the Black Sox scandal, Shoeless Joe or somebody,
Yeah, something that the more modern Hall of Fames are real big on, and I think both baseball and football.
Yeah, they both are real big about.
I know the NASCAR Hall of Fame is real big on that because they're so new about making sure that people in the history are awarded it as well.
Also, another factor that will not factor into our baseball selection.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds are eligible. I'm not looking at, because there's always an era. They just happen to play in what everybody labels the steroid era.
Yeah. And Pete Rose is eligible too.
Pete Rose. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I want Pete Rose. I'm going to select Pete Rose. And, first thing we need to do is figure out how many do we want to put in each class. How many do you get? How many picks do you get? How many picks do I get? For baseball, I would love to say, let's make it 9 selections. Basketball, let's do 7. Wait, change that. Baseball would be 10. Because we do at least 9 players and 1 coach or owner. Because George Steinbrenner would be a good pick. The ex-owner of the Marlins is banned from the Hall of Fame.
I think you have to look at their contributions on the field, and kind of, so if O.J. Simpson is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it doesn't make any sense that, Pete Rose is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, Pete Rose got banned from baseball for probably perfectly good reason, but that blacklisted his name.
Now, on that note, do we look at the Hall of Fame, who's in each sport's current Hall of Fame, and just say, you're automatically in, we're going with people who are not in? Or do we say, we're going to induct everybody individually?
That's tough. Because I think it gives you, instead of, if you do it that way, it gives you a chance to recognize some people that would be very, very, very far down on the list than if you were just picking people that were already recognized by their sport. So I think that would be a good idea, yeah.
And now, on another note, I was trying to think, and I got sidetracked here, but
like usual,
would it be inappropriate if we were inducted?
I'm voting for myself. You know that, right?
What are you talking about? I'm voting for you. I was hoping I was going to get an endorsement from you for me too.
Your on the field contributions are lacking now.
Because remember, this is how this would be my induction speech for you. You were the one who even remotely suggested I do this, anything like this, even though we haven't talked about anything that gave me that where you suggested that I do this, which was my rant on presidents and one of the reasons baseball players get suspended a lot. But like what we were suggesting about having like a celebrity type thing, like Charlie Sheen would be one of the people on the list for the celebrity induction for baseball because of Rick Vaughn. I also got to put Abbott and Costello on that list because obviously football or their Who's on First skit. And would we rather have a separate Hall of Fame list for each sport, or are we going to do just one? Because I think it'd be better to do them separate. That way, you know, we can kind of go back later and say, well, who's the top 5 people in our Hall of Fame?
That's true.
But obviously, like with football, Adam Sandler's on that list because Bobby Boucher, Paul Crewe. What about guys like Bill Goldberg? He's a pro wrestler, but he also played football. I would lean more for him for the celebrity endorsement.
Yeah.
And do you include guys like Michael Vick on the list? He may not have had the most remarkable career. He certainly had off-field issues, but at the same time,
he was a different type of quarterback than what we've seen.
He definitely.
I think he deserves it alone for the reason because everyone always wanted him on their team in Madden. He was on my team in Madden.
He was on my team by default because I usually played as the Falcons, except for that one time that I did what I mentioned in one of our older episodes about the career mode thing where it transferred my player and I wound up starting with the Bengals. My contract was up and the best contract offer came from the Colts, but after not really getting too much attention there, it's like, I want to go somewhere else to play. But yeah, there was one achievement on one of the Madden games where you had to have a player play injured. And I was playing as the Falcons. Vic got hurt. So he was on injury reserve, but he was still on my roster list. I put him in to hold the ball for the kicker to kick the field goal for one play to get that achievement knocked out. But, yeah, you can certainly look around. And then we got to make sure we don't blur the lines on they were an athlete, but they transitioned to acting. And where do you draw that at? Like, Bill Romanowski was good for both. The only thing that concerns me about the Hall of Fame thing is we're scripting shows, so, but the good thing is if we sit there and say, this is how I think we can, and we can do this after we finish recording too, we can kind of get a little more details hammered out, but like make a list of who we want, like our induction, email it or text it to the other, kind of look at it and, kind of compare, and whoever we have the same, that's who's in, for sure. Then, if, say, I send you a list of 12 guys for football, and you look at mine and I look at yours, and we have 9 players on both lists that are the same. Those 9, automatic in. Then we look at the other, what would that be, 6? And one guy from each list that one of us picked that the other didn't, gets in. The other 4, you're going on the next ballot. Yeah. And if we do like we normally have been, like 4 shows, or do we, say, well, every other month we're going to do our Hall of Fame thing?
That would probably work. You wouldn't want to do it too close together.
Like, for me, also on that list, we would probably put the 72 Dolphins, the undefeated Patriots team. You could probably say, well, they're not like Brady. The undefeated Patriots go in. He's not in. Just the team for that season. Because, like on Madden, they'll give you a list of some of the best teams in franchise. Unfortunately for some teams, like that one team that plays in Ohio, I don't think they have too many Hall of Famers. Now, obviously, you're going to say Al Davis deserves in, Don Shula, but as far as your celebrities, who has influence? Jack Nicholson, Mr. LA Laker. Let's let him in. Sorry, Justin Bieber, you're on that list also of banned people. Because nobody goes to an LA Laker game and sits in like the first 5 rows and texts on his phone while his girlfriend is more entertained by the game than he is. It should be the roles reversed, Can't really think of too many. I'm going to also choose to put Barry Pepper on the list.
Okay.
As far as like a celebrity inductee, because he played Dale Earnhardt in 3. He played, I think it was Roger Maris in 61. Now, Bonnie Bedelia, who played Shirley Muldowney in her movie, no, because they said she was a pain to work with. But yeah, we certainly, even though he's not high on my celebrity list, because we're obviously going to do one for racing too, because Mark Martin's instant Hall of Famer. We were talking about him earlier.
Yeah, we were.
He probably set the bar for the argument, are motorsports, auto racers, are they athletes? Compared to how long that man drove, yeah, he's an athlete. I mean, look at some, used to, the average motorsports driver's career was over at 40. This dude was racing, I think, at 45. Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, they're in their 40s, Yeah. But definitely going to nominate Jacob Smith for the Hall of Fame.
Like, wow, thanks. Your name was not on my list, at all.
I endorse Jacob Smith for the Hall of Fame. That's nice to get another endorsement for
you gotta be like a real politician. You gotta drag my name through the mud during the primaries, and then when you're inevitably lose, you have to be like, oh, this is my great friend, after you stood up there and said bad things.
I tell you what, that Jacob Smith ain't worth the dirt he walks on. But I do like his policies.
We promise not to get too political.
What do you think about him? Oh no, he's not that great. What about you, Herbert? What do you feel about him?
What a popsicle. Oh dear.
It sounds like we got Frank Caliendo sitting here.
I haven't seen him on anything in a long time. I wonder what he's doing.
Football season's over. He's usually on, is it Fox NFL Sunday, the one with Terry Bradshaw? I was listening to him and he's talking about Terry. He said Terry Bradshaw will tell him during his skits, he'll go, "Not funny, Frank, not funny." He said then after the show's over, he'll go, "Very funny, Frank, very funny." Well, why didn't you say that to me during the show, Mr. Bradshaw? Well, Howie hadn't explained the joke to me at that point.
Now I believe that.
And I like how he talks about John Madden. John Madden will say the same thing at the end that he did at the beginning, and then in the middle is just some kind of verbal tragedy. He'll be like, "Great football is not great football unless you got great players playing great football. Otherwise, you just got regular players playing great football, and it's great football, not great football, and that's what that's all about." The other one that was funny is he said that John Madden is in love with Brett Favre. He said he's just got that voice that not everybody can say, Brett Favre. And he's like, I can't wait for the day that John Madden sits down in an interview with Brett Favre and goes, "I wrote you a poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. You're great at football, and I love you."
Oh my God.
Definitely, I think number 9 is a good episode.
Oh.
What else we got? We have just been rambling.
I don't know. We've been rambling nonstop. Oh wow. But yes, I think your Hall of Fame idea is great. I definitely think that if people are already in their sports respective Hall of Fames, I think they should automatically be in, because I think that'll give us an opportunity to feature some people that maybe should be in their respective Hall of Fames.
Yeah, there's definitely people that, and obviously Terrell Owens is going to get in ours before he did the NFL Hall of Fame.
There is, you can also use it as an opportunity to say, well, this person's in their sports Hall of Fame, but they don't belong in this one.
To me, like I was saying with baseball, I disagree with baseball's approach. Now, obviously, with each one of ours, it's going to be restricted to professional level. And unlike baseball, where they make you pick who's on your plaque, no, it's...
Oh, you're on the plaque.
Because, I mean, you got some guys who you could say they don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because at this point, no. You know, like, obviously on my list, you're going to see Desmond Howard's name. Not everybody knows who Desmond Howard is, but he was the Super Bowl MVP of Brett Favre's sole Super Bowl win. He's also the only return man in the history of the NFL to be awarded the Super Bowl MVP. Another guy that's going to be on my list, Chuck Howley, linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, only man to ever get the MVP and be on the losing team, which to me, that to an extent is deserved. You should get the MVP in because I mean, if you are playing for, I don't know who your favorite baseball team is, but if you're playing for somebody that you won't expect, okay, there you go. Say you're playing for Colorado in baseball. You are up against the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series.
Okay. Unlikely, but okay.
Your Tampa Bay wins the first 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
You are on Colorado. You help Colorado win the next 3 games to force a Game 7. You hit 2 home runs in Game 7, but Tampa Bay wins the World Series. To me, you could be the most valuable player in the entire series because you're the only one that really made a big contribution. You deserve it.
That's fair. That's a fair point. And I think it's now kind of an unwritten rule that the MVP comes from the winning team. You may not necessarily deserve it.
I'm also going to put somebody else on the list that just recently retired.
Okay.
Ichiro, definitely on that list because...
Ichiro, I mean, if he had come from Japan earlier, he'd probably have almost 4,000 hits. Yeah. And his retirement thing's not really, from what I hear, it's not really official yet.
Yeah, because I saw something as soon as it was announced. His agent said, "No, he hasn't officially retired yet." So the retirement's been announced, but the paperwork hasn't been signed. And I just saw where a baseball player announced his retirement. I think at the end of this season, that he went out and blew away the other team, showing that he's still relevant. Now, other guys we could consider for the list: Bernie Mac from Mr. 3000, Tom Selleck, Mr. Baseball. Definitely anybody who played in the Major League movie. Tom Berenger, is that his name? Right? The one that played the catcher. Do we give a nod? Do we give a nod to Rube Baker? You know him, Major League, back to the minors, the catcher, the one that couldn't throw to second base.
Sure, give him a nod.
That's definitely going to be a research in progress thing. I mean, I've already got my list compiled.
I actually have to put in some effort.
And what do we name them? Do we just name them the NSNZ Hall of Fames, or do we call them, like I thought in like most of them call, like these sports teams have the Ring of Honor, the Court of Honor, stuff like that. Who gets in, who don't, you know.
I'm sure it'll be up for debate.
Definitely a good list. And unfortunately, sorry to the soccer fans, but I don't think either one of us is well versed enough to start nominating soccer guys.
David Beckham, that's about all I know.
David Beckham, Pele, Wayne Rooney, Carlos Valderrama. That's my extent of soccer. Oh, Hope Solo. That's about all I got. Mia Hamm.
Which one's the one that caused a stir by taking her shirt off at the end of whatever that was? The World Cup or something?
I think her name was Abby something.
Okay. It's not like she had anything to show anyway.
Easy.
I'm gonna be careful.
We may have some listeners who are not or should not hear that kind of stuff. And congratulations, Jacob. We've only got a few minutes left before it's over, but you didn't say any bad words this episode.
I almost did earlier, and I had to catch myself. Actually, I think I almost did twice.
Now, you didn't do like Des Bryant and drop yourself, did you?
No.
It was not a catch. Not a catch. Incomplete. But yeah, before we start doing any induct or anything, we'll come up with like
we'll lay out
the
some ground
criteria.
rules. Yeah.
Like I feel no more in each sport than maybe 10, 11, because we're going to say like maybe a cutoff will be 9 or 10 for solely athletes, one for that'll work. We'll do like coach, or in motorsports case, crew chief. Then we have an owner, and then we'll do like a celebrity. And
That'll work.
There's one person I just thought of who's going to probably wind up in multiple Hall of Fames.
Who'd you?
Burt Reynolds. Because he played Nate Scarborough in Adam Sandler's Longest Yard. He played Paul Crewe in his version of Longest Yard. And he was Stroker Ace in the movie Stroker Ace. We'll even put Kenny Rogers in there because he played in the movie. I forgot what it's called. Looks like we're getting ready to head out. We got 30 seconds. Anything you want to add?
No, I think when are we going to be back here?
Before we hit it, if there's any moms listening, happy Mother's Day. And before it starts the music, congratulations, Jacob. You're done with your first round of college.
Yay! Woo! It wasn't.
Do you have any congratulations you want to send out?
Nope.
And I think you got a number one salute from a fan that's listening.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Not So Neutral Zone. Check us out on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, email, Telegram, I guess.
And since he forgot, I'm going to stay on their good side. Congratulations, Brooklyn.
Have a great week, everybody.